two things that I didn't buy that I was given as a gift, and the first one is this beautiful, beautiful pouch, and it's been made with one of the designs off the back of the Hands Across the Sea greeting cards, and this beautiful rose and bird come from the Elizabeth Harding sampler, and it's been made into the most gorgeous of pouches. This pouch is just so beautifully finished, and it has a little front pocket and it has a little back pocket, and it's just absolutely exquisite. And this was gifted to me by Leona Sweeney, who came over from Australia to attend the Iberfire workshop at the Attic Needleworks, and we had a wonderful time together. I think one of the lovely things about travelling to different parts of the world and attending different needlework events is the thrill of meeting people who maybe you've known for a long time and you've met before and you're getting back together, or maybe it's somebody that you have known through the internet and you're meeting for the first time in real life, or you're just meeting somebody completely for the first time. It's wonderful to interconnect with other needleworkers. Needlework can be such a solitary pastime that it's really, really lovely to gather, and workshops and retreats, they are a gathering of friends. You may not have been friends before you met, but you will certainly leave a workshop with many, many new friends. And other needleworkers, they inspire you and you grow through spending time with each other. Although I was in the States teaching, I learnt so much from the ladies and gentlemen that attended my workshops. I also came home with another very beautiful handmade gift, and this is just so beautiful, and it's a pin cushion, and the fabric has been chosen to complement the design and the colours used. Whether it's a big sampler or a small, every piece of needlework is precious and is to be cherished, and I will cherish both of these items or these gifts that were made for me. You cannot have a greater gift than something that's made by hand with love behind every single stitch. So both of you ladies, thank you so much. These items will be used, and they will be used carefully, and they will be cherished, and every time I touch them or I look at them, I will remember the time that we spent together. So thank you very, very much. What else have I got? I have got quite a bit actually. I'm surprised at myself. Now, when I was in the US, I was very excited about the Hardwick Manor hoops, and I showed you, I think it was the 7" and 7/8 hoop, and that was 7 inches in, it's not is it diameter or circumference? Anyway, it was a 7-inch hoop, and the hoop I showed you was 7/8 of an inch deep. But I also came home with another hoop, and again it was 7 inches, but this one was 5/8. It's not so deep. And the reason that I went mad and bought so many different, well, I bought every version of the Hardwick Manor hoop that I could find, is that when I really, really like something, I will use it. And I find sometimes if I don't buy something when I want it, when I do want it, it's not available. And I fell in love with these hoops, and I know that every one I've bought, providing I don't lose it, I should have for the rest of my life. These are quality products, just like needle products. These products are made for life. I love the quality, and I love the way that these hoops sit in my hand, and I love the way that these hoops treat the fabric that you put them on. When I flew over to the States, I used a hoop that was very inexpensive. I've had it a long time, and it had been very battered. It was only £2 or £3. It was a flimsy hoop that I picked up. I can't even remember where I picked it up, but it wasn't a very good hoop. I found that when I used it, because it was so thin, I really had to grip it hard to hold it in my hand. And when I got off the plane from travelling to the States, my left hand was aching, it was stiff, and it took me a couple of days to get over the stress on my hand, and it was due to holding that hoop so tightly to keep it in my hand. And these Hardwick Manor hoops, you don't have to grip them tightly. They sit very, very comfortably in your hand. And I've actually used, not this one, I used the 7/8 one, which is slightly deeper, to stitch on the way back. And when I got off that plane, my hand did not feel stiff at all. So I know that these hoops are better for me to use. And a lot of us, through our working life, whether we use computers or whether we do something repetitively, you know, we take a lot of wear and tear on our hands, and I want to be able to stitch for as long as I'm alive, so I want to look after my eyes and I want to look after my hands. So I feel that these hoops are a very, very good investment. I'm rambling about these hoops now, but I do love them so much. So yeah, just for you to know, if you have slightly smaller hands, they do have the 5/8 hoop as well as the 7/8 hoop. This hoop size is 7 inches, and I actually find 7 inches a really nice size to work with. It gives you a good surface area. Although I did buy some smaller ones, I also came home with a 5-inch hoop as well. And again, maybe if you have small hands, a 5-inch hoop might be more suitable for your hands. But I just thought the 7-inch, it fitted in my handbag, and it gave me this nice surface that I didn't have to keep on moving my fabric around. But what I did find, that when I took the hoop off my work, I didn't have a shiny line on my linen, so that was really, really good. Anyway, what else have I got in my bag? Oh yes, now many of you will know about these. These are knitting needle cases, and they are hard shell. And these are the absolute perfect size for our Halo Daylight travelling lamps. I also put something else in there that I didn't want to have creased. So these lights fit in perfectly, and you zip them up. You can pop them in your baggage, and the fact that this is hard case gives it some extra protection. I know that a lot of ladies in the US have been buying these from Amazon.com in the US, and from I think it's a big craft supplies. I'm not sure if it's Joann's or Hobby Lobby, but I know that they're available in one of those. And it was specifically made for knitting needles, and it has a little pouch, and it has these little strips that your knitting needles can go in. But you know, you can use all of this for your stitching supplies. There's a label still on this one, and it is everythingmary.com. So maybe that's a place that you can also buy it. So it's everythingmary, that's one word, .com, and it's called a zip around needle case, and it is 15.5 inches long, 2 inches deep, and 7 inches wide, and again it's this perfect size for our halo lamp to give it some protection as we're travelling. And in the workshops that I attended interstate, so many of the needleworkers, they were using these lamps, they were loving them, and many of them actually had these cases as well. And this case was actually a gift, and the 2 ladies that gave it to me, I was so thrilled. So thank you very much. I'm going to be using it all the time. Now, the other thing I brought back was lots and lots of linen. Linen is something that I use a lot of for all the models for Hands Across the Sea samplers, and as we all know, you can have issues with linen supplies, so when I see it, I get it. And it was really lovely to go to Sassy Jack's and the attic and see Kimberly's and Jean's excitement. They had both had big deliveries of linen, and they both had bolts of linen, and it was just so wonderful to see these big bolts of linen. But do you know what? By the time I left Sassy Jack's and the time I left Attic Needleworks, there was hardly any linen left. When stores have workshops and people arrive, everybody always goes straight for the linen and they buy as much as they can. And I totally understand that. There's nothing worse than wanting to start a project and you haven't got the right linen. So this will all go into my linen chest and it'll all go very quickly. Now this linen, this is both the same. This is corn tassel, and it's a legacy linen, and it's 37 count, and this is a really beautiful colour. And legacy linen, it just feels so nice, it really does. And the quality of the linen is just amazing. There are slabs, but there are very few slabs in this linen. Can you see how the colour's changing as I bring it close to the screen? Trying to capture linen colour is so difficult with a camera, but this is a really beautiful colour. It's a clean looking colour, but with an aged look to it at the same time, a clean aged look. Lovely colour, and I'm looking forward to putting that into production. Now what else have I got? So that's my corn tassel. Let me just pop that back. I brought back some sand dune, lakeside linen. I love this colour so much. This is one of my favourite colours in linen. Sand dune is beautiful. This is filbert. It's a strong colour, but it's a lovely colour, and that comes in 38 count, and it is legacy linen. Now I must be careful to put these back in the right bags. That's a good representation. That's catching the light in the right way. This is a favourite. This is, again, this is legacy linen, and it's wild honey. And wild honey, it's a beautiful colour. And this colour, it seems to take on the colour of the, well, not take on the colour, but it seems to complement whatever colours of silks or cottons that you put on it. It's just, it's beautiful. And you know, I think this is one that's well worth having in your stash, because it's sort of a colour that will suit practically every single project. or many, many projects, I should say, possibly. And this one is 37 count. This one is Jersey Cream, and this is 45 count, and this is very, very fine linen. It's beautiful, really, really beautiful. And this is the one that Jean was saying had in gold thread Prima Lino. Oh gosh, and what does this say? This is Italian, and I should be able to speak Italian because my mother's Italian. Something Graziano. Graziano is the type of linen, and this is just so fine. It's gorgeous, really, really beautiful. A tablecloth embroidered with this linen would be absolutely beautiful. Really, really beautiful. And do you know what? In fact, when you see such beautiful linens, it makes you want to embroider something for your home, you know, to adorn your home or your dining table, napkins, tablecloths, mats. Now this one is Squash Blossom, and this one is in 37 count. I think possibly you could say that this was a colour along the same lines of sand in Zweigart. It's a very happy colour, it's a sunshine colour. And now we start getting into some really, really interesting linens. These are delicious. This one is 53 count, and it is Sicilian marzipan, and it is absolutely divine, exquisite. It is so beautiful, so beautiful. And to stitch on this will be an absolute joy. And I know people think I can't stitch on linen with such a high count, but I believe that anything that you really, really want to, you will manage to do. We all find ways. And when I looked at the 56 count linen that I stitched Harriet Salt on, I thought, oh my God, I can't see it. But you know what? I got my magnifying glasses and I put a couple of stitches in, and then I took my magnifier away and I put on my stronger readers, and because I had made a couple of stitches on the linen, I could then see where the cross stitches should go, and the more I worked on it, the bigger the holes came. And before I knew it, I wasn't thinking, gosh, this is 56 count. It just felt completely natural to be working on it. Another thing that I think as well, it's not the count of the linen that enables you to see it, it's the weave of the linen. I've looked at some 40 counts and thought they were harder to see than some 50 odd counts. And you know, these are my lowest strength glasses. These are my reading glasses for if I was reading a book. And do you know what? And I'm not exaggerating here. Looking at this 53 count, I can actually see the holes on this linen. Like, I'm not expecting you to on the camera, but there is something about the weave of this linen that makes it easy to see the holes. And if you go into a store that sells legacy linen, go and have a look, and don't just glance at it, look at it and really look, and you will see your eyes adjust. So that is a beautiful colour, very, very lovely. And then in the 53 count, they also do Gothic Ivory, which is a beautiful cream coloured That's really, really lovely. It reminds me the colour of full fat milk, beautifully creamy. Or I should say maybe the colour of Cornish clotted cream. It's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And then this is an interesting one. It's manuscript vellum, again in 53 counts. That's a very, very interesting colour. So I'm looking forward to trying those out. And the one thing that you need to do with linen before you start stitching on it, you do need to stitch out a little basting line so that you can measure the count of the linen. These linens are not even weave, they're not exactly even weave. And I was asked, how do you decide which way to use it? Well, look at the design you're stitching and, you know, would it complement the design if it went a little bit narrower, or if it was if it went a little bit wider, and that's how you decide which rotation you use your linen in. If you get a basic cotton sewing thread and baste out a line over 2 threads, under 2 threads, over 2 threads, under 2 threads, stitch it out for a little bit more than an inch, and then go off in a right angle to form an L, and stitch that out for just over an inch. Then get a ruler and mark off an inch in length on the horizontal and an inch in length on the vertical, and then count how many stitches, and that will tell you what count your linen is on the vertical and the horizontal. What else have I got? Oh, I know. And it's good to share knowledge, and these needles were recommended to me by a friend, and I normally try and use my John James number 28 needle for practically everything, but sometimes it's not suitable. And say for example you were stitching eyelets over 2 threads. Now when you come to bury your thread, it is quite difficult to get a needle under eyelets stitched over 2 threads, or even maybe eyelets stitched over 4 threads or 3 threads. But these needles, they're John James size 10 Gold and Glide Big Eye quilting needles, so they're sharps, and with some size 10 needles it's quite hard to thread your embroidery thread through the eye of the needle, but these, their eyes are really generous, and it means that you can actually thread your 103 and even your d'Alger through the eyes of those needles. And I have been working on a project since I've been back where there were a lot of eyelets and there were an awful lot of queen stitches that I did on a very high count fabric, and every time I wanted to finish one off I swapped my thread onto one of these needles, and it was easy to thread, and the sharp point meant that I could bury my thread very easily. So that's a good addition to your needlework box of tricks. Is there anything else in my bag? Oh, yes. Now, this isn't something I brought back, but these are some books that I've recently discovered that are available on Amazon about Ackworth. Now, I always like to research any sampler that comes into my life, and a short time ago, well a little while ago I should say, not a short time ago, a sampler came into my life that has a connection to Ackworth, and I wanted to find out more about Ackworth, and I'm lucky enough to have Carol Humphrey's book about Ackworth samplers, but I wanted to go into the samplers a little bit more with my own research, and I came across it's a digital reprint of a book, and it's a history of Aqua School during its first 100 years, and it's a reprint of a very old book. And it also included a brief account of the fortunes of the Ackworth building before it became Ackworth School, when it was occupied as a foundling hospital. And the book is very, very interesting, and I am learning a lot of extra information about Ackworth and how it came into being and how it was run from reading this book. And then I also discovered this book, and it's a Leopold Classic Library, The History of Ackworth School, written by Geoffrey F. Linney. And again, it's an old book that has been, it's a facsimile of a book. And this book, I've really been drawn into the history of the school, and I've been learning lots of interesting little snippets of information that weren't available in more modern books about Ackworth. And I'm really looking forward to gathering all my research to put together a presentation and a lecture about a very special little sampler, and it is only a small sampler, but this sampler has an amazing backstory to it, and often it's the backstories that make samplers really, really interesting. This is a sampler that will form part of a workshop that I'm giving at Sassy Jack's Stitchery next year. Now, I know that there is a clamour to get places on these workshops, and I know that Kim at Sassy Jack's has been having lots and lots of emails about these workshops, but please don't panic. I am going to be giving back-to-back workshops, and we will be giving more information about these workshops in about 2 weeks' time, and we're very, very excited. There's 3 projects, and each one of them is special in its own right. So keep an eye out on the Sassy Jack's Facebook page and website for more information, but also I will do a video talking about the workshop very, very soon as well. I find it, because of my dyslexia, far easier to talk to you than to write a blog post about it. It's difficult sometimes to find the right words to express yourself in writing, whereas when you talk about something, I don't know, you can bring more life to what you're saying than the written word, but then maybe that's me because I'm dyslexic. Anyway, I'm sure I have been rambling on for far too long, but I hope you enjoyed watching and learning about the little bits and bobs that I have brought back or come home to. Until the next time, bye-zy bye.